This is somewhat of a continuation of our test broadcast as we're working with new hardware now. You see Randy Kirtley out there at the S portion of the track, flattening down the track before the race start. We just put glue in on the track earlier, so it should be good and ran in. These guys are ready to start Bryant Engineer Race Weekend here on the orange track, followed by the circle track to come, the tri-oval track here at Lanes Raceway. Bryant Engineering, 1535 Frederica Street, Owensboro, Kentucky, 42301. Give them a call, 270-685-2811. Bryant Engineering Incorporated is a civil engineering and land surveying consulting firm with offices located in both Owensboro and Bowling Green. In 2019, they celebrated their 28th year of growth and success. Bryant Engineering has successfully completed 6,000 civil and surveying projects ranging in scope and complexity from routine boundary surveys to large-scale multi-million-dollar projects. They're award-winning American Public Works Association Consultant of the Year for the year 2011. So as you can tell, these guys are quite something. Let me check with the guys and make sure they're ready to go racing. All right, here we go. As we count down now, we got a pretty good substantial lineup here. I appreciate all those in the test portion of the race before we started this one to send out. As you see, Lanes Raceway, I put hello there just to see if it's working. It's working on one portion of our stuff, but another portion not quite working as well as before. Check out also YouTube and Twitch, as both of those chats are working well. Kind of new system set up here as we were running into lagging issues, running the limits out of the laptop that we had here. As we go green racing here, Gabriel Kirtley takes a lead early on with a 3.99 median lap. Paul Woosley close behind with a 4.42. Both these guys quite close as they're still getting some of the butterflies out as they start the race here. As you've seen before in the earlier segment of the race, these guys are running 4-inch cars. You've seen they kind of got used to the way that those cars handle. Those cars are a little bit more lower to the ground and quite a bit lighter. So they kind of handle quite a bit different than these NASCARs. But everybody here is trying to get their laps in. The other night we had a little bit of a mishap here at the track. The white lane, well, pretty much since we've been open, it's intermediately gave us problems here at Lanes Raceway. But it pretty much completely shut down Friday night for the racers. Tom Payton, Paul Woosley, and a few others, to name a few, was there and experienced some of the loss of laps there on white lane. I called each one of these guys individually and asked if they wanted to rerun for free or if they were just good with what they had to continue on in the race. Well, they opted just to go ahead and keep what they were with the laps, and we continued on racing. But we were going to cancel the GRC race for tonight just to basically fix that issue and have them guys race. But they all turned decent laps, I suppose, because they all were, for the majority, either just okay either way or just outright just ready to move on to the next race in the series. If you guys didn't know, the race weekend consists of one race on a Friday that alternates between the orange track and the green track for guys to make up that can't make it on a Sunday. And then Sunday we run both tracks, and Sunday is pretty much a day where a lot of people come and race, so it's usually a free day for people to come out and race. So it's really a good day to actually race a series. As we continue racing here, we see Gabriel Kirtley taking a pretty commanding lead median-wise lap turns. Must not be getting into a whole bunch of wrecks, which is kind of surprising to be on black lane with a 3.72 median lap. That's pretty impressive. but we've seen this before with Gabriel Kirtley, as when he starts the race, he starts out blistering fast, but has pretty terrible luck, at least in this season, to just name a little bit, because it seems like every time I've seen him out here to race, he starts out real strong, and by the very, very end of it, or last heat or so, he tends to have somewhat of bad luck. But we'll see if that luck changes tonight for him, and maybe he'll be the guy that's top runner for tonight. So we see Randy Kirtley. He's also in the Fairview IT Cup race. Ran, if I'm not mistaken, all the races he's planning on running for the series. So you see him there at the crook of the track, helping to spot cars along with my wife out there tonight. As this season is, I think this is one race past halfway over. You see these guys, pretty much just keeping what they got, or a few of the guys that are maybe a little bit behind on a little bit higher position on the standings, trying to move out to get those higher positions. As when we take a break from this heat rotation, we'll take a look at the current standings now. And we got 28 seconds, and we'll check that out. As we see a bunch of these cars coming off the top part of this lane, as we reiterate, these guys, some of them don't have as much time to work on their cars, but you can fix these cars. We found that out. You can fix them to where you don't have to blip them. But it's still a risk, nonetheless. I mean, we see a lot of these guys going for broke, and a few of the guys just taking quite a hard hits coming around there. As we see currently Jay Latham on red, he came off, I believe, twice in this heat, most likely from not blipping there. So we see the best laps of everybody pretty consistently, about 3.8, 3.9. Gabriel Kirtley is somewhat of an outlier there with 3.5 on black lane. His car really running good so far. But if we know anything from past streams, we know that as these cars heat up and go through the lanes a little bit, they tend to slow down a little bit and be a little bit more competitive with one another. Some of them just outright smoke. We've had quite a few smoke on these double race weekends, because we don't really give the cars enough time really to seat down. I guess the resins in the motor are wound. We go from one race to the next, trying to get it done so people can get home as they got to work the next day. But I'll tell you what, sometimes they just smoke. They just take all they can take and they smoke. But pretty cheap little motors nonetheless, so not too expensive to replace, but somewhat of a hassle as they are soldering motors. Paul Woosley also there, second place, not too far behind Gabriel Kirtley. As we come to a heat being over, get Ed Howe there saying, sorry I couldn't make it out this weekend, but good luck to everyone. We appreciate that, Ed. Ed Howe, he comes in here whenever he can and helps us out the track, and we do appreciate Ed Howe very, very much. As we go and we're going to take a quick look over currently the point standings. As we can see here from the point standings, we see Randy Kirtley in the lead right now. He's helping spot the track, as we see, with 5,694 laps. Glenn Burton in second place with 4,974. These two guys and Paul Woosley are really the only three guys that really haven't missed a race weekend that I can see. Looks like a few other people have maybe missed a race weekend here or there, maybe missed one race or something. But there's going to be something special for these guys if they make it through and race at least one race in the race weekends. But as we see, we only have just a couple more weeks left. Looks like 1, 2, 3, I don't know what that December 2nd there is for. Well, I guess that'd be the Friday. So Friday and then Sunday here. So 1, 2, 3 more race weekends, it looks like. And it'll be the end of this series for a total of 23. So we can kind of see over here just the base before the sponsors kick in and help with the payouts also, just what we're kind of looking at here. this right here that's automatically
You
going
gotta right click on
on this?
it. For whatever reason, I right click on it and then it'll alter this and then it works. So it says authorize
Okay, so what do I do now?
nothing. It'll do it so say now hit the OK button. Actually,
Okay.
that's all you gotta do.
Okay. My brother trying to explain the ways of the computer with me. Because I'll tell you right now, there's quite a few things that are a little bit above my head. So he's trying to get that yellow text off there. He wanted to see the circle stream, as that's the next race we're going to go into. But back to the points, we got 16 seconds before the race starts. We can get this in a little bit. We see Tim Hall there in 4th place, which got earlier in the test stream. I've seen that he wasn't going to make it this weekend, but he wishes luck to everybody, and we appreciate that. Gerald Suttle there in 5th place. He's within a couple hundred laps of Tim, so he might actually retake that 4th place tonight. Ed Howe also not going to be here tonight. Let's head back to the road cam as we get back underway. And we see here right now is with a little bit bigger of a screen here, just a little bit easier way to see these guys as they race. Gabriel Kirtley currently on yellow, still with 33 laps. Paul Woosley close behind on black with 31. Glenn Burden with 29. Tom Payton with 28. As we see Randy Kirtley hurrying up trying to slap the car back on there. It looks to be on red lane. Tonight's race weekend sponsored by none other than Bryant Engineering in Owensboro, Kentucky, and also in Bowling Green. Give them a call, 270-685-2811. They specialize in civil engineering and land surveying. Also, they do some consulting. Give these guys a shout, and if you're looking for anything of that nature, and just from some of the stuff that my wife wrote up for me, you know, they had Project of the Year in 2015, Parkview Drive Area Basin, and in 2014, the Downtown Infrastructure Improvement. So these guys have quite a list of accolades to go with what they're doing. So if you want some people that seem to me anyways, what I'm seeing, I don't know a whole lot about them other than what I'm seeing here, but if you want some people with some experience, these guys are definitely the guys to give a call over. So we back to racing. It looks like my wife up there at the donut of the track kind of just giving a little slap on there or something. So we see 11 laps turned almost identical to Paul Woosley and Glenn Burden. They're battling with black and blue. Maybe making each other black and blue. Who knows? As the race goes on, these guys might give a little each other a nudge as they get closer to each other. Who knows? I do know the competition between these guys somewhat gets hairy sometimes, especially between Sam and Dad. But Dad currently not racing in this race tonight. As you see him help track marshal. They all get in there and they like to get a little rowdy every once in a while and beat and bang on each other. It's all in good fun. But eyes of steel to watch here, Gabriel and Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley, at least in the past few weeks, always running up in the top 3 positions. Currently, for the past couple of weeks anyways, almost needing a mailbox here at Lanes Raceway. As he's always tinkering with his car. Tom always too, with Paul. These guys just come in here and they really get these cars underway. They practice on both of the tracks. We get a rider there at the end of the corner coming into the backstretch. Looks like he flipped maybe possibly off the back of the track. Sometimes these cars, they come off and they end up getting a rider, and if somebody's on the backstretch or the front stretch, you're wide open. You can really do some damage to the other car as they're sharing the lane. Taking a look at our best lap time turn currently by Gabriel Kirtley with a 3.493. Very, very respectable lap time, as he's got that car really tuned in, it seems. For anybody watching, if there's any kind of errors, whether it be audio or video, please relay that back to us, as sometimes I see some errors take place. A lot of this stuff is CPU based. It's an older computer, built in about 2012. It's probably about the best one you could build back then. So it's a little bit out of date by today's standards, but still quite a good computer. Plenty good enough to run this kind of stuff. As long as we keep it cool. I'll be keeping an eye on it, and it's water cooled here, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. So you see my wife there messing with Sam Nelson's car there on the right lane. Pretty impressive though, 3.493 best lap. He must have really been dedicated to turning quite a quick lap there on the yellow. Also pretty consistently turning quite impressive laps. Glenn and Paul Woosley there with medians of 4.09 and 4.10. One might mistake that they're both running the same car. A little bit difference in laps, but I'm sure Glenn will be turning that lap here shortly. Well, look at this beautiful night we're having here in at Lanes Raceway. A little night look. As you can see, we got lights out here burning for Lanes Raceway. All those that do come, you know, you've seen these lights. We got them up. We got a sign out here at Lanes Raceway. You can't really see it from the camera here. Might be able to see it from the second parking camera. No, you can't. But you can see it glowing up that blue truck back there. Looks like we got a black truck there. Don't know how to park. I believe that to be Bo McPherson's truck. Head back to the road cam. Full cam here to see a little bit better what's going on here. On black lane, we still got Paul Woosley there in the high banks. On the orange, we got Tom Payton. So Paul's trying to reel him in there on the high banks. We see Paul Woosley make quick work of that. So Brady Curley sticking his nose down there, seeing maybe if he heard a car or something. He's going to get a car back there. What seems to be on red lane. Bo McPherson. Quite a little bit of a cluster there between the S-turns of orange and blue, which would be Tom Payton and Glenn Burton, really battling it out. Also, black and purple just really battling it out. Be Gerald Suttle and Paul Woosley. See who gets the jump here. Is it going to be Gerald there on purple gets the jump, or is it going to be Paul Woosley there on black? Paul Woosley car, like I said, is really something to behold currently. It's quite acceleration-wise quick. He let Gerald have the benefit of the doubt, but makes it through the S-turns to come back around on the high banks, coming out of the backstretch quite well. So we'll take a quick look here at the track mate. Really putting this computer to work currently. We see Gabriel Curley there running pretty impressive 32 laps compared to Paul Woosley, who's close behind him at 29. So 3 laps difference there, but an average lap of 29 for Paul Woosley and 32 for Gabriel. So Gabriel running out front here, really trying to make up some laps as we go back and see these guys' points. And we take a look at where Gabriel Curley is located. Currently, Gabriel Curley is located in 9th position with 3,252 laps. Within a couple 150, 160 laps of Tom Payton. So more than likely not going to be able to reel Tom Payton in unless Tom just has a catastrophic night. But these guys, Tom Payton and Gabriel Curley, all season long, if you guys have been watching the stream, both of them have similar luck when it comes to the NASCAR series. They work all week long on their cars. They really preparate them when they get a chance and try to get them to run as good as they can. Tom even runs in some of the practice races. But then it seems like whenever the purse weekend comes and these guys are ready to get it and get as many laps as they can, bad luck seems to befall them, it seems. We've got a minute and 20 seconds left to go. I want to bring your attention yet again to the pinball. I don't know if you guys caught the other day the test stream for pinball, which we'll have to rework now that we're on a new system. But we're planning on doing some live stream pinball. You see KK there. She's a lady who comes in from Tennessee and plays, and she's also in the IFPA, and that's a professional pinball tournament league. And she's ranked up there. I can't remember exactly where she's ranked, but she comes in here, and of course she had to put me in second place, it seems. But we do love to play some pinball. I know me and old Big Daddy 3 Glenn, our favorite pinball machine, of course, is Godzilla. 35 seconds left to go. We're going to head back to the road race and wait on these guys to line back up. So we see Paul Woosley there putting his car back on yellow. Looks like he gave himself a little bit of a boost there. He might even cause himself to break out, who knows. But we do set a breakout here on this track for anybody that maybe want to try to put their car up closer to the line or something like that. If it's too fast, it will break it out. As we're getting ready, here we go. Oh, Pearson maybe had to go outside for a second. Working on something. Get another yellow flag. Minute and 50 seconds left to go. Paul Woosley turning 4.02, close to Gabriel's 3.66 on orange. So far, Gabriel Kirtley tends to be dominating every lane that he has touched so far. His experience pays off in kind, it seems, but Paul Woosley really close there behind him. Both best laps in the 3-second category, as we see Glenn Burton there with a blistering time of 3.752. And Jay Latham's car turning in at 3.99. So, just what I've been seeing so far, the laps turned tonight have been a whole lot better than usual as we start on this orange track. So we get a big cluster up around the donut there. I knew somebody had to give and nobody wanted to. As we get a car put back on Sam Nelson there on red lane, as it gets put right back in the cluster again, as my wife has to deal with two cars. Looks like she's putting another one back on red, possibly another one under the bridge. Take a quick look at YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook to see if there's anybody chatting. So I can, of course, see Facebook live here. It should all be intermingled together. I tested a little bit earlier just to see if the chat was popping up on my side for the stream dashboard. Here's some of the guys out there talking about sensitivity of the controllers. Almost everybody here has either a DeFalco, hopped up DeFalco, or some sort of advanced controller. I don't think anybody's running 100% brake, 100% sensitivity type controller where there's no adjustments whatsoever. So no huge disadvantage for those kind of things, just relatively disadvantaged when it comes to experience on the track. The biggest portion of saving time through this track, of course, I wish I could put an arrow out on the track to show you, but right when you come out of the donut, which is right after you go under the bridge, once you come out of that donut, once you get that rhythm down right before the S turn, and coming out of the exit of the turn on the backstretch, if you can get through that section quite quickly, that's where you make up quite a bit of time. The other area to make up the majority of your time is driving in super deep for the bridge without coming off, and that's a timing of full brake and then gently getting back into the trigger to have the weight pushed to the right side of the car to hold it down through the donut. Is what takes place there. I don't know if you can kind of see it from the angle here, but what's taking place right up underneath that bridge is an opposite bank. So you got the big bank here that's closest to your screen. That'll hold the car in wide open. But this, when you go to brake, have to brake right past the start-finish line for the bridge, you see the the track roll over the opposite direction, and the opposite effect takes place, that you really have to slow down quite a bit or you'll end up pulling your car out. But there's this perfect, trying to think what the best word to use would be. You can kind of get it like in a zone every heat. As we get another car coming off there on the back stretch, most likely coming off from red or white. But you can get in a zone there to where that you let off at the perfect time and unsettle the car to transfer that weight, and then ease back in it all the way around the donut, staying consecutive. You might have to let off a little bit in the donut as soon as you see the back end kind of step out a little. But other than that, just trying to keep the car as straight as possible. That's key. If you can keep the car really super straight, you can keep it fast. So we get another yellow flag. 16 seconds left to go in the heat. Gabriel Kirtley still in the lead with 91 total laps, a median of 3.92, a couple hundredths of a second, or thousandths of a second different from Paul Woosley with a 4.02. Paul Woosley basically just waiting on Gabriel to do some wrecking, and he's ready to pick that up. Lynn Burton right there with Paul Woosley. As we get a little bit of a battle between Jay Latham, Tom Payton, and Gerald Suttle. And then finishing up the pack here, battle in the rear of the track for Sam Nelson and Bo McPherson. As Bo McPherson was off at the beginning of the race, cost him a few laps, it seems. We got one off under the bridge as I heard a real loud shout. Looks like my wife's trying to get it. She was a little slow on the draw as we get a track button call. Right up underneath there where my wife was at, underneath the bridge, there is a button. There's also a button there where Randy Kirtley with the flannel black and white shirt in the S at the turn of the track. There's a button right up underneath his left arm. As we get the end of this rotation, like I said, Gabriel Kirtley out in the lead currently. I want to take another look at the point standings, as I just can't get enough of this. As our basic championship payout is $2,600. The rest of it to increase is dependent on our race weekend sponsors. And this race weekend sponsor is brought to you by Bryant Engineering in Frederica, Owensboro, Kentucky at 1535. Their telephone number is 685-2811, area code 270. Their mission is to provide professional service while surpassing project goals within schedule constraints, with client satisfaction being a core objective. These guys have had Project of the Year in 2015 and in 2014. 2015 had Project of the Year at Parkview Drive, Area Basin. 2014 with Downtown Infrastructure Improvement. And I can tell you firsthand that when I went downtown in Owensboro, Kentucky, I have seen how good it looks down there, and it is something to behold. Kind of reminds me of going downtown, I don't know, maybe in New Orleans. Never actually been there, but I've seen it in movies, so who knows. But nonetheless, it's a very pretty place down there. As we head back to the road cam, just a bigger view here, we see Randy Kirtley there taking it easy. Just waiting for the racers to come back. But we do appreciate Randy Kirtley, also known as my father. Looks like we got a little bit of a car or something up underneath the bridge there. It looks kind of like it's on its side. But we do appreciate Randy coming down here and helping. As he helped us pretty much get this track in here, along with my brother and a few other family members and friends. And we went to Tennessee together and got the green track. And me and Dad and my wife, we built the drag strip there before we opened. So we all been pretty hard at it to try to get Lanes Raceway to be something. As I hope it is something for these racers. As I do appreciate it. I love seeing their smiles. I love seeing them go through tough times and then prevailing outside the other way of those tough times. You usually prevail out of those tough times just simply by getting them a new motor or a new gear or something of that sort. seconds before the race starts. We're going to head back over to the road race where we can see the comments. Got a couple of likes tonight and a love, so we appreciate that. Every time you guys give us a like and love, share us to all your friends and family. Get our name out there, because the more people we can attract, the bigger the purses can be for these racers. I know for a fact I'm really excited for the next series that we're going to end up running here at Lanes Raceway. The next series is going to be our GRC, which is our most popular series, as we've sold the most GRC cars. And the GRC is a little bit slower of a car. And sometimes in the stream I've had people say, it's just really hard to follow these faster cars. Without a trained eye, it is quite hard. I tend to just keep focused mainly on the top two guys. So right now I'd be focused on white and orange for the most part. And looks like we had a little bit of a hiccup here in our sessions. Get that fixed real quick. But yeah, I usually just focus on the top two guys. Maybe if I'm focusing more over the top two guys running, I'll focus at the beginning of the race, the guys that are running red lane, white lane, for instance, on the circle track. So red lane and white lane are kind of subjective on this, between purple and black on the orange track. And I kind of keep on the outlier lanes, keep track of them and how many laps they're turned, to see that when they start rotating on the back end and coming the other way to finish up, whether or not there's going to be a change in leadership. As you can see, Jay and Gerald, there was a battle there with them and Tom Payton, and now you see Jay moving up as he's on purple. So Jay's able to increase his lap time and his medians quite substantially from those two. But we see Gerald making a resurgence here on yellow, which yellow is one of the smaller inner lanes. But that's kind of how I do it. It kind of breaks it down a little bit. But nonetheless, GRC is a whole lot slower. You could keep track of a bunch of cars on the circle track instead of just one or two or three cars to see if there's any wrecks going to take place. You've seen that cluster. That's another thing. Paying attention to clusters is the cars cluster up going into bridge. A lot of the times, if they don't have their cars perfectly glued and clean tires, what ends up taking place, those cars kind of step out a little bit and hit each other in those clusters. So if you're looking for wrecks, always look for the clusters. If you're looking for who's going to be in the lead, kind of take a look at the longer lanes, whether it be red or white, and judge it by who you know is fast. And if you can see that, like you think a guy's running, wow, as we get a pretty wide hit there, as my wife's going to try to probably go up underneath the track to get that one. We see Gerald Suttle there just barely skating by on yellow. That even excited the guys out there. Wife kind of setting Gerald up there so he don't slide down the tracks. That bank's pretty hardcore. It's almost a 45-degree angle, to be honest with you. It's a pretty big bank as we get Glenn Burton's car put back on there. That blue car of Glenn's, we just painted it earlier this year, pardon my language, but we just painted Glenn's car earlier this week, and we used like a blue metallic, and Glenn's like, let's back it with some chrome. So we backed it with some chrome, and it come out like a midnight blue. It's something to see. It's that chrome backing on some of those transparent colors really make those cars pop, like a real car in a way. But yeah, as you've seen Gerald Suttle before they went back racing there on yellow, his car sliding down. Sometimes if guys got too much glue in the tires, that'll take place even on the flat portions of the track. As we get a car coming off again, right there, old McPherson reaching long with his arms to get that car back on green. That'd be Sam Nelson's car. But nonetheless, when they get like that, usually a couple things can be the issue. I find that most of the time it's just whenever they go on the heats, instead of thoroughly cleaning out their tires with lighter fluid and really getting in there and getting the dirt out of the tires, a lot of times they'll just put glue on it over top of the already dirty tire, and that doesn't really help you for very long. It might help you right at the beginning of the race, but as soon as that glue comes off that tire, well, then you're back on some old dirty tire, and you're slipping and sliding all over the place. And then slipping and sliding also can just come down straight to not having weight placement correctly or sensitivity under control. So we head over to the track mate to take a quick look here, compare some of the times with Gabriel Kirtley here. Like I was saying before, you see Gabriel Kirtley here on white. We know he's fast. So who else is running pretty quick times in comparison? Well, the closest guy is Sam Nelson with 25 laps, and then Tom Payton right there behind Sam with 24. So you can kind of get somewhat of a justification of how people are running on the inner lanes. Also, we see Gabriel Kirtley with the most laps on orange with 31. Next closest to him, Paul Woosley. And we're starting to see a trend here with Gabriel and Paul Woosley as we continue down these roads, that these guys are running pretty consistent with each other. Paul Woosley only losing out a couple laps each heat to Gabriel Kirtley. And this can simply come down to the final heat between these two. If Gabriel's car holds up, or if it plays the same as it usually does and ends up torching it, who knows? It's all preparation of the car. It's all gear ratios. If you got too long of a gear, they tend to burn up. We found that out here. These motors can't take long periods of time of straight abuse, and they get hot, and if you don't pull them down, they end up blowing. I mean, literally, smoke rolls out of them. We got 1 minute and 26 seconds before we go back green. I'm going to take a small break.
Trying to get into these guys' heads.
Race starts in 20 seconds. Race starts in 5 seconds.
We're back to racing. As I had a little bit of a conversation there with Bo and his parking skills. Just you guys know what's going on with the race. Let's take a quick look at Bo's parking skills. As we see that black car there, or black truck, that F-150 there by the big blue truck, notice how he's just out in the middle of everybody. He says that's good parking. I have to disagree with him. I think that's horrible parking. But nonetheless, it ain't a road, so I guess he can park there if he wants. But a nice, crisp, cool night here in Livermore, Kentucky at Lanes Raceway. Really good for racing. But I'll tell you what, Lonnie Nave, I got to give a shout out to you. I don't know if you watch his streams, but Lonnie Nave, the guy that come in and put a split unit in for us before we opened, I'll tell you what, that split unit, you wasn't lying. He told us before we opened, he said, I'll put that in and the heat will drive you out and the cold will freeze you out. Sure enough, we had that heat on earlier and we were all sweating in here. We ended up having to turn that dude down. That dude got hot. So I'm kind of, well, not just kind of, I'm really happy that it's doing that, as this is quite a big area for how big that split unit is, or looks anyway. But yeah, just a shout out to Lonnie Nave. He does heating and air. Maybe give him a shout out. And if you got a heating and air problems. We get a stalled car there on black by Jay Latham. Sounds like he's really cranking them gears. You see Jay Latham going over there to take a quick look to see what's going on. My wife grabs his car for him, sets it on, picks it back up, gives it to Jay. Quick look here to see what's going on. Bo McPherson earlier this week just stepped up and got him a 281 Pro controller, so he's out there like the rest of them. My dad made him a interlinked little rope caddy for his controller. He had some issues a couple weeks ago as his controller fell and broke. We ended up having to put a brake pod on it. So Dad's like, well, I'll fix that. And made him a little rope to put on the back of his controller so he can hang it so that don't happen anymore. Here at Lanes Raceway, got a little piece of PVC pipe kind of through the track right by each driver station that you can hook your controller to. But with those 281s, they kind of hang off the edge of the track, and they got little studs on them. You can just hang that rope over that, and it makes it a lot more convenient than the PVC pipe. We see Bowman Pearson is messing with something off of the driver's station there. We got one off in the bridge. I heard it kind of hit as we see Randy Kirtley getting that car back on. It looks to be Gerald Suttle's car, the Truex car. See Bowman Pearson disconnecting his controller. He's coming around to maybe check to see what's going on, possibly a brush on his car or something else. Jay Latham seems to have got his controller in order. Randy Kirtley passes the car back to Bo to see what's going on. Bo, also another guy, not having a whole lot of success here recently with his cars. He tries the best he can, drives quite a hard race for sure. A lot of the times, messing up a few bodies, which is good for Lanes Raceway. We appreciate Bo. Also appreciate that he is willing to learn. My brother and my dad trying to help him with some stuff every once in a while. So we get another lane rotation. We're going to take a quick look here at the track mate again. A little bigger screen blow up here. And we see Gabriel Kirtley consistently running 32 laps per heat, 31, almost as if he has got a rhythm down, surpassed from other people with 31.8 average lap turnover. Paul Woosley also looking relatively consistent with 30 or 29 laps turned. So both of these guys, like I said, within a couple of laps of each other, 29.4 laps total turned. But as you can see, total laps turned between Paul Woosley and Gabriel Kirtley, 147, 159. But Glenn Burton coming in there really, really close with Paul Woosley, as we're fixing to see a battle between these two, as Glenn Burton has two short lanes that he's going to be running, or that he can hold speed on the donut a little bit better. Paul Woosley also has one too, but we'll see who can prevail. It's really going to boil down to how well they do the center lanes of green and orange. 1 minute and 45 seconds before we go green, and I'm going to take a small break.
The race starts in 1 minute. 40 seconds.
Hey, that's over there.
Race starts in 20 seconds. Race starts in 5 seconds.
7 seconds. We're about ready to go racing again as we head over to the road stream. Our race weekend sponsor, Bryant Engineering, out of Owensboro, Kentucky, and Bowling Green. Their address is 1535 Fredica Street. Give these guys a call, 270-685-2811. for all your engineering, land surveying, consulting that you need. You know, if you're getting ready to start a job, these will probably be one of my first calls for sure. Peyton coming back, it seems, with a 4.2 median. Seems to be someone trying to reel in Glenn Burden there. Gerald Sutter there, right there with Tom Peyton. So we get a little bit of a battle between Sam Mills and Jay Latham. But the guys that I think that we need to really focus on here, at least for the next heat or so, is Glenn Burden and Paul Woosley, as these guys are almost having to run similar lanes as Paul Woosley now currently running his red line. Glenn Burden's going to be able to run his shortly. We see Glenn Burden running an average of 7.15, and Glenn Burden running 7.24 on orange one of the middle lanes. This will be Glenn's, I believe, last middle lane he'll run, where Paul Woosley, his last middle lane, if I'm not mistaken, will be yellow. Gabriel Kirtley, for normal racing means, has pretty much stepped itself out from being able to be beaten unless there is something catastrophic that takes place with his car, as he has done shown throughout this race that he is keeping somewhat of a high median lap time. So pretty much he's going to have a car blow up for anybody to catch him. So the race really is for second place here between Glenn Burden and Paul Woosley. And this is just the common thing that's been taking place every time that these guys get together in a race. These guys are always, well, it's actually all three of these, well, four of these guys, Gerald, Tom, and Glenn, always trying to nip at the toes of Paul Woosley. So Paul Woosley, I've been seeing all season long, get better and better and better. Consistently beat Randy Kirtley twice, and a couple, well, the last two races Randy Kirtley was in. Paul Woosley, of course those wasn't streamed, but Paul Woosley took him out of the race in a wing car, fresh out of the box seat. As we see those median lap times, Glenn Burden really getting them low now. So Paul Woosley must have took a few wrecks there as his median was up at 7. Now it's turned back down to 4.97. But Glenn Burden substantially about a half of a second or so worth of median time gained per lap. And his average is like 4.27. Glenn Burden also turning his fastest lap of 3.962, 10th of a second, right at it, faster than Paul Woosley. So he is being able to gain a lap or so here in this heat. Just praying and hoping that he can reel that in from 6 laps to maybe 5 laps difference between him and Paul Woosley. So we get a hard hit there. It looks like Glenn Burden was able to gain another lap. See Alicia Gaddis here, happy racing, y'all from the slot car fans watching down here in GA. Go Jay, God bless and happy Thanksgiving. God bless you, Alicia, and thank you for that. Happy Thanksgiving. We had a pretty good Thanksgiving, me and my wife today. We went to her family's Thanksgiving at a lodge there in Sacramento. I'm still full from eating this afternoon. She's like, well, I got food for us tonight. I said, I don't know if I'm going to be hungry as much as I eat. But I might be able to find some room in there after these couple races are over with. So we got 12 seconds left in the heat. We see that lead of Paul Woosley dwindling down to 4 laps difference. Glenn was able to take advantage of the place that he was located there on orange. Jay Latham got Sam Nelson within 1 lap as he is trying to climb himself back up. As I think he's had a little bit of trouble tonight as we've seen him pull his car off earlier. So the heat's over with. Let's take a quick look here again at the track meet and compare what we just seen there. Paul Woosley ran 26 laps there on red, while Glenn ran his 28 laps on orange. So we're fixing to see Glenn Burden move up to right lane, so he's going to have to turn 29 laps or better to be able to start catching Paul Woosley. And then he's also going to have to turn at least 26 laps or better on red. So it's going to come down to the wire for sure between these two as they're giving it everything they can. A similar battle taking place between Tom Payton and Gerald Suttle as we see Sam Nelson and Jay Latham within 1 lap of each other, and Bo McPherson having a little bit of trouble with his car in the back with 22.7 average laps. Back to the points though, let's take a look at the difference between Paul Woosley there and his combatant Glenn Burden. As Paul Woosley and Glenn Burden both battling for second place even in the points, now currently battling each other for second place in this race tonight. As Paul Woosley has 4,880 laps and a very small margin difference between him and Glenn Burden with 4,974. Both of them somewhat substantially off from Randy Kirtley, as pretty much every race Randy Kirtley ran was almost the best that you could run or ask for. So he made a comment earlier to my wife and said that he will not be racing anymore, that they have some catching up to do. So probably the next time that he'll race in a series will probably be if somebody's cutting him really close and he might need to maybe increase that cushion a little bit. Coming up next, the oval track. As you see the guys there in the pits still working to get their cars ready. Randy Kirtley lounging at the end of Dead Man's Corner there on the circle track. Bo McPherson working on his car at the end of the VIP section. You can see that we got us a new air hockey table here at Lanes Raceway. And currently for this month, for non-members, the play is free except during races. So you can come down here and play as much as you want for free, as long as the race ain't going on. Because, you know, I had a few racers complain it was too loud, so I just made it where they can't do it while the race is going on. But other than that, it's free. Come on down and play. Like I said, next up will be the oval race, and these guys are excited to make these cars go as fast as they can. As we head back, see Bo take a little bit of a stealthy jog there. Big full screen. We're going to start out on the full screen and swap over a little bit later. Let's see how this race starts off, see if there's any big wrecks. As we get, woo, the Truex gets hammered there on the line. So that was Sam Nelson and Gerald Suttle there into a little bit of an incident. Gerald possibly didn't blip his controller enough. Right there about where Tom Payton's located. If he would have, maybe that wouldn't have happened. But then again, sometimes it just happens. So see Sam Nelson getting his car back on there. You see there on blue, the race leader, Gabriel Kirtley, with the neon yellow and blue, frosted colored blue there on blue. And we're going back green. Paul Woosley, 175. Glenn Burden, 171. Glenn Burden getting that median down quite a bit on the white lane. This might actually be somewhat nerve-wracking for Paul Woosley as they're running neck for neck here. And actually it looks like Glenn Burden might actually be taking that lead from Paul Woosley, earning that second place in points for sure. It's really going to come down to the wire here, ladies and gentlemen, between these two. Green lane and white lanes. What we got right now is is a few guys were on the wrong lane, it seems. Maybe a sticker issue, a little bit of color blind between purple and blue. Who knows what's exactly going on? As Paul Loosley turns 8, Glenn Burton turns 8. They're right there neck to neck with each other, it seems. Tom Payton turned 9 laps there in the high banks. Or actually, that ain't Tom Payton. That is Bo McPherson on the yellow with the Wonder Bread car. Must have slipped off. Garber Kirtley on the backstretch. Chelsea going to reach in there and try to get one of those cars and get it back on the track. Sam Nelson giving the eyes to Garber Kirtley. With our new setup, my wife was able to actually get these races more consistently move on. So immediately after this race, the guys will be getting stickers and going directly to the circle track. Won't be somewhat of an intermission between. It'll just be like a moving over. And we'll be getting that race underway. Better off getting these races up and going and moving as quick as possible, because like I said, these guys got to work tomorrow. And I know they'll appreciate that. But the laptop, the old laptop that was running the stream, we had some issues with it. So I brought my computer from home in here, my gaming computer, which I also used to stream video games back in the day with. So I knew it was good for it. My brother set it up today while we were at our Thanksgiving. And I get here, he had it all set up. It was really nice. Sorry, I just smacked that microphone. I hope I didn't hurt anybody's ears or anything. But he got that set up for us, and now we're using the laptop to get another race rolling behind the scenes while this race is going on, because everything is controlled remotely through wireless cards here at these racetracks. So we see Glenn Burton kind of backing off a little bit on White Lane with 21 laps. Really, I cannot recall exactly how many laps on White was turned by Paul, but I believe it was 29. So if he can get somewhere close to that, there's still a fighting chance that he will be able to move up. Because there is a battle, like I said, going on here within 4 or 5 laps of each other. So we got 17 seconds left to go. We're going to be enough to maybe turn 4 or so more laps. As we get a hard hit and a wad up there, Gabriel Kirtley gives him a gentle nudge there on blue. The Truex car, and it looks to be the blue car of Glenn Burton. And it was. Both of those cars, somewhat of a substantial wreck there. It kind of looked like me and Guillermo a couple of weeks ago on the final lap as we spun to the finish line. And the difference between first and second was literally my body mangled up into Guillermo. One of the best finishes I ever seen. I wish we'd have got it on video. As we see Glenn Burton able to turn 25 laps there on White. .26 laps there on White. Will it be enough? Let's take a look at the track mate and see. So we see Glenn Burton turn 26 laps, not what Glenn really needs to be seeing. He's going to have to really make up some time there on red to be able to pull the lead from Paul. But he's 3 laps down off of White from Paul Loosley. The numbers don't lie. So Paul Loosley runs a blue lane anywhere similar to a yellow or an orange lane. He should be 1 lap above Glenn Burton on blue. So Glenn's really going to have to step up hard on the red lane to be able to pull a second place off here tonight on the orange track. So we see Tom Payton there with 185, kind of somewhere in the middle between these guys, not really a battle. But we see the battle between Sam Nelson and Jay Latham really heating up. Also, Gerald Suttles joined in the mix. We got 174, 174, 174, and we got all these guys really bowling down to a green and a yellow. Jay Latham there on White has the biggest disadvantage, but probably the most experience out of the 3. So that's going to be a pretty good battle to watch this next heat also. With 1 minute and 42 seconds left to go, I'll bring your attention to our pinball. Rockin' Rod really rocking it on Rush. That's probably one of the highest scores I've seen. I've been to Nashville a few times, of course seen higher scores there, but out of all the guys that play around here and that I went and played pinball with, you hardly ever see a score that big on Rush. Rush real hard to even get in the upper 90s or upper 100 million, let alone 200 million. So he was really on a roll there on Rush to get that high of a score. So we congratulate him. He actually got him $10 in pinball the last time he was here for such a feat. We see KK. She's currently in the lead, which here in the next day or so, whenever December starts, she'll be able to cash in herself $10 of pinball money and be able to play a little bit of pinball for free. Of course, I don't pay myself for pinball, but I'm there on the leaderboard just to give somewhat of an average lead, not nothing too crazy. We go back to the road race here. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back with you in about 20 seconds.
Race starts in 5 seconds.
Going on there to see how things were going. Everybody seems to be having a good time. We hit that green racing. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, turning the first lap as he's been on fire here on the orange track. 3.68 median lap time already. Excuse me. A little bit of wood smoke coming in the oars, kind of giving me a little bit of a choke up. So we get a car, it seems to be Glenn Burton there, not what Glenn wants to see coming down there to the bottom, possibly meaning that Glenn's car is not going to be able to full throttle through red, which he really needs to be able to full throttle through the backstretch there. So we keep an eye there on Glenn to see if he's going to blip or if he's going to give it the full beans again. And it looks like he gave it the full throttle. He's risking it for the biscuit, ladies and gentlemen, as he takes another hard hit there on red and gets completely demolished by the car on black lane, Tom Payton. Tom Payton's going to kind of squeeze under there and try to get Glenn. Of course, Tom didn't mean to do that. His reactions are, you've got your eyes completely and utterly focused there on your car and your car alone. Sometimes future can be seen if the past is showing the truth. So nonetheless, we see the past there with Glenn. His car came off once on red. He risked it again, and yet again we see that car coming off again on red. Gabriel Kirtley might be able to do something to the car to maybe make it settle down a little bit to be able to go over that blip. Some cars can do it, some cars can't. Some guys spend all day long getting their car set up just to make it go over that without having to blip. So I don't know what the negatives or the positives is of that. I mean, you can make it go over it without coming off, but then again, you might be sacrificing something else in the meantime. As we see Glenn Burton yet again giving it everything he's got to go across there, because he needs to. He's got to make up those times. He can't be doing these wrecks anymore. He's really reliant right now on Paul Woosley to take quite a big hit. As you can see, he's now increased that from 4 laps earlier all the way to 11 laps difference now. As we see, even in the reaches between Tom Payton as Glenn Burton's taking somewhat of a hard hit here. Jay Latham drops to the bottom as expected with being on white lane between the 3 of Sam Nelson and Gerald. But Jay Latham also having the most experience on the orange tracks. He was raced with us in the bottom of the basement, not to knock Gerald or Sam either, as these guys race several tracks. But to be familiar with this specific track, this is a one-of-one track. Jay Latham does have that instinct. As we see Jay Latham coming up above Gerald Settle there on green, able to turn a quicker lap. Maybe he can reel in Sam before this minute is over with and take a place in 4th place. But it seems that everybody else, unless something else happens, is probably solidified in the position that they're in. So it's all but turning laps currently now. As we see pretty much the standings, other than we see Jay Latham there, actually, we can see that his experience is winning over Gerald and Sam, as he's increasing that lead now to 15 and got somewhat of a substantial lead, several car lengths between him and Gerald Suttle. As we see Jay Latham turning 191, now literally walking away with it as we see there on orange, Bo McPherson having a little bit of an incident. Randy Curley getting the car back on might be Sam Nelson's car was put back on. Sam Nelson drops to the bottom below Gerald Suttle. Gerald Suttle now turning 191, but Jay Latham turning 192 with a substantial lead there. A full lap, it seems. So it looks like Jay Latham has locked his position unless he comes into contact with a few wrecks. It looks like Jay is going to be finishing in the 5th position. 31 seconds left to go as we get a pretty big wreck there in the donut. My wife has to put on several cars there. Unknown to me which cars those may be. We head back, 28 seconds left to go. This battle still underway between Jay, Sam, and Gerald for 5th position. 196, 196, 196, 197, 198. Here we go. Let's see what's going to happen. Jay Latham holding strong with a 4.27 median. A little bit slower than Sam Nelson's. Can Sam make up the time? So we see another wreck take place there between these three. A battle is ensuing. Jay Latham turning 28 laps there as we get another wreck there and a hurry up quick pause. And that is the race, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at the track mate as we see Gabriel Kirtley in the lead with 253, 233 laps of Paul Woosley, 20 laps now in difference between him and Gabriel Kirtley. Glenn Burton at 219 and Tom Payton 213, but what a battle there at the end. Jay Latham, Sam Nelson, and Gerald Suttle. 201, 202. As we take a quick snapshot of this to prepare to get these numbers in later on tonight, we're going to move over to the orange track and we'll see you guys there. I'm going to go ahead and move us over and you guys can take a look as we just put her on the oval cam while we get things up to go. When the race gets ready to go, we'll fire it up and I'll be back with you. Jay Latham, can I get a moment of your time, sir?
Sure.
So how do you feel about that last few seconds there whenever you was able to take Sam and Gerald by a lap or so?
Oh man, it was a squeaker.
It was definitely a squeaker. You two were, or all three of you guys were battling. It was kind of funny there at one moment. It was, 198, 197, all of you the same lap. Next thing, somebody would lose a lap, and it would be a gain and a slip and a gain and a slip. I didn't know who was going to end up taking that 5th position home, but I'm glad after all the hard work that you've been putting in on this car. I've seen that you've had some bad luck. Tom's had some bad luck. Gabriel's had some bad luck. Maybe y'all's lucks are changing for the better. What do you think?
Well, I hope so.
Sam, I got to know, man, how do you feel about that battle that ensued? How do you feel about just Jay barely inching you off right there?
Well, he got me, but I got Jerry. I got Gerald. That's the main thing. I got to ride home with him.
Well, you heard Sam. He said he didn't mind as long as he got Gerald because he's got to ride home with him. But, Gerald, I'll tell you what, man, what a battle between you three. That was something to see.
Well, it's not over till it's over.
So I can tell already the conversation between these two on their way home. You just barely got me. I can see it now. Bo McPherson, he's dropping out of the oval race. Bo, I got to know, man, are you dropping out because of some bad luck tonight?
No, not at all.
Tom in the background said he's scared, but Tom says everybody's scared, so you can't listen to Tom all the time.
Scared of Tom. He's like 4'3".
But I got to know what was going on tonight, Bo. I was kind of curious about what was going on with you. I know your parking job, not stellar.
No, it's not very good. I kind of pulled in there. I was like, you know what? I'm going to race. So I grabbed my stuff and came in.
Well, you heard Bo. He loves racing. He likes to come in every once in a while. But I'll tell you what, he needs to work on parking. As you guys have seen in our camera there on parking number 2. Let's take a quick look here real quick.
No.
Bo's telling us not to take a look, but as
Honestly, if we're being honest, I had no idea there was any lines there at all.
Bo said he didn't know there was any lines, but this is after the fact. As we see Bo's car there just out in the middle of nowhere, could be actually confused for someone that was under the influence. But I know Bo, he doesn't partake in those acts.
No, I do not.
All right, everybody. We'll be right back with you in just a few moments as everybody's getting their cars prepared. We'll get you back to the oval so you can watch them prepare their cars, and we'll see you soon. An update for you guys that are watching, if you would, we can take probably a quick look here. I don't know if it updates here, but my brother just gave me the info, said it does update. We do have an update in the points, so we don't see a change yet. How do you? Okay. Well, anyways, you should be able to check the points now on www.lanesraceway.com. They should be updated now, as my brother has already put in those lap totals for everybody. Just a refresher to let you guys know what takes place is, so if you've run more than the 7 races that you need on each track, each race that you do after that on that specific track will make the least amount of your laps fall off. So if you ran 212 laps the weekend before on orange, and this week you ran 213, well, that 212 will fall off if it's the lowest amount. So then that increasing your total laps. Because at the end of this series, what it boils down to is how many laps you've turned. Here we go. All right, as we start the race now, continuing directly over, so we see Guillermo Sar. Couldn't be there today, but planned to be next. Guillermo, I can't wait to see you, man. As maybe me and you can have us another one of them hard. Whoa, there's a hard wreck right there out of the gate. It looks like possibly Glenn Burden's car is involved in that. Dark blue, maybe Paul Woosley's. It's either Paul Woosley's or Tom Payton's. Then the orange car of Jay Latham. But yeah, Guillermo, I just mentioned you earlier in the orange race how that whenever me and you got together in that final lap and we were twisted and mangled and your car was just like that, just enough to get that front lead, and that was pretty cool. Alicia, I appreciate that. Loving the post-race interview with the drivers. Yeah, I felt like we needed to go out there and talk to those three guys as they were really battling as hard as they could. I couldn't find the tablet, but he's got it back up and working where that when I find it, that I can actually take the tablet out there with the microphone and actually interview them like that now, as we got things going on. Bruce said hello down here in GA. Go Jay. Yeah, keep an eye on Jay. He's there on the purple lane, doing the best he can. As you can see, he's turning quite substantially good laps there, staying right there with what looked to be Glenn Burden there on blue. Glenn's car is really quite fast too, as we see Sam Nelson there hurrying up, trying to get his car back on red. Gabriel Kirtley there on green as we get a hurry up, a quick button press there. Can't hardly blame the guys whenever it goes green to try to get what they can get. These guys are all racing for laps, and at the end of it all, you know, who has the most laps gets the win. So we get Sam Nelson there off again on blue and green and a rider on white, and whew, that ended a whole lot better than what I expected. I appreciate that like. I see it flying across the screen there. My brother really did put in a whole lot of work here to get this thing up and going. If you were wondering if you got stuff like this maybe you need done, Gabriel Kirtley, Fairview IT Management. He speaks the language of the computer. If you got computer problems, and I mean any computer problem, this guy is definitely a wizard behind it. As we see Gerald Suttle's car, looks like it kind of slid off there. I think that's Gerald Suttle's arms a little bit too long. We see Sam, his buddy there. They rode together. They're going to have quite the story to talk about from the previous race on their way home. Gerald's car back up and running. But yeah, Fairview IT Cup Series, that's what it's all about. Our main sponsor for this race series. And that was no small feat of a sponsorship, mind you, as Fairview also sponsored every single one of our rental cars here at Lanes Raceway. For all those that like rental cars, Gabriel Kirtley, owner of Fairview IT, his car kind of slipped off there. He needs to go back behind the line to get that lap. But yeah, he speaks the language of the computer. And I wish I could tell you some of the stories online about this wizard in motion here, because behind a computer, that dude right there is upper echelon for sure. As we head back green racing here, we see Gabriel Kirtley currently third from the end on this race, not having as much good luck as he was in the previous. Jay Latham out there shooting star, really having good luck, whereas he wasn't having quite as good luck on the orange track. We see Jay Latham's car really motivating with a 1.64 median. Jay Latham and his father-in-law, Bruce, both of these guys been tuning in to Cleve Tech. Slot car guys know quite a bit about him. Cleve Tech, I believe, over the weekend running in the Formula One class, and I believe he won that race, if I'm not mistaken. And he was quite ecstatic. I seen in one of the short videos is probably a lot of guys from Lanes Raceway subscribe to him. As I get several people coming in talking about Cleve Tech. But if you're looking to, as Gabriel Kirtley's car comes off again, something's going on with that car, maybe a bend or something. We're going to do a yellow flag here. But just a shout out to Cleve Tech for sure is I follow him also and build several of my cars here at Lanes Raceway after some of his tutorials. So if you're looking for some really good tutorials and a guy that's clear talking and not so much like his nose is always stopped up, you might want to check that guy out because I tell you, I can give you a few tutorials on how to do things, but that guy there is definitely on another level as he's racing for international accreditation for sure. And a very gentle man that I've noticed Cleve Tech is for sure. As I've really not ever really met a really irritating slot car racer, but you know, maybe that shows my age, I don't know. But I just really enjoy the sport, and maybe I look past a lot of things, but Jay Latham's car is blistering there on purple as he passes Tom Payton on yellow. Tom giving a gentle lift to let Jay go by, but Jay's car is straight booking on this circle track. What has he done to this? I don't know, but I do know for a fact Jay Latham comes in here and he buys the latest and greatest parts. He comes in and he asks for certain things, some of the stuff I've never even messed with, but Jay, he comes in, he wants tire balancers, he wants a specific type of motor pressings, he wants specific bodies. And of course we get it for him here at Lanes Raceway because we want him to be as happy as he possibly can and have the fastest car, and it's showing here as he comes off for the first time there, and Gabriel Kirtley gets into him there. As we got 1 second left to go in this heat, Jay Latham with the blistering 69 laps, also Glenn Burton with 69 laps turned here. We get a red flag for a rotation. You see Tom Payton's car there in the high banks. As we head over to take a quick look at the track mate, we see an average lap turns between him and Glenn Burton. Glenn Burton there in the middle lane of blue, turning 70 laps. Jay Latham with 70 laps there on purple. Paul Woosley 69, Tom Payton, the usual suspects here, ladies and gentlemen, for the top three. Will we have another battle between Paul and Glenn like we did the last race? It's really anyone's guess currently. But Gabriel Kirtley's still reeling in from the last race, maybe trying to get used to the circle track. Who knows, having a little bit of trouble early on. As it seems every time his car touches the circle track, he has somewhat of trouble. We'll see what happens. Sam and Gerald there battling each other down low. May turn into something like we seen at the end of the race last time. Very exciting. They're on orange lane. As we go back to the points and see Glenn and Paul just throat to neck really, just reeling it in, trying to do the best that they can to hold on to their positions, as Paul's really wanting to climb that position against Glenn. So far tonight, having prevailed there on the orange track. Tim and Gerald, Tim Hall not able to make it tonight, but he sends his condolences. He sends his best wishes here to Lanes Raceway and all those that are racing tonight. Gerald Suttle there in 5th place. Gerald tonight been in quite a few battles with Jay Latham and Sam Nelson. Sam Nelson currently there in 12th position, trying to gain a couple of positions, as we haven't seen Jason Howard in a while, so Sam might actually be able to pull that off tonight after circle track racing, moved him up to 11th position. As Bo McPherson dropped out of the race tonight too, that also helped Sam and to be able to increase his lead and maybe pull Bo into somewhat of a position where Bo's going to have to either stick it out or give up that 10th position, which the 10th place is our final position for a payout other than last place. Last place will receive something. So we haven't seen Robert Whitaker in a while. Robert Whitaker, always a happy guy when he comes here, and kind of missed to see him also. Stephen Hayden, seen him the other night and had a good time as he picked up his Dippity Doo-Dog body. And of course he races in our GRC, and he did a little IndyCar race with us the other day. Tom H., I don't guess I really know him all that well, but maybe he was here early on, maybe caught some races when I was sick possibly. Sam Nelson there, of course Sam's here racing with us tonight. Jason Howard, not here currently. Jason Howard also bought our holiday car as we head back to the oval cam just to start the race to see if there's any juicy wrecks before we start. Get the big view done. You see Tom Payton there on orange. Taking off as we get a cluster up. Tom Payton, just for some reason or other, didn't have no brake there maybe. He brought his controller in here earlier, wanted me to take a look at it. I'll take a meter to it later after the race and see if we can maybe figure out what's going on. If he needs a new brake pod or something possible. As we get a huge hard hit there in the upper high lanes there. That car coming off the white lane of Paul Woosley, just like a dart there coming through. Michael Hazlett there, new racer. Knew Michael my whole life, as he's helping here at track marshal tonight. Michael Hazlett, right now, I'm in drag racing. His wife Nikki, first time out with the rental drag racer here at Lanes Raceway. Got home the dub. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that on Facebook or not, but we're proud to see that a lot of our first timers coming out drag racing, getting those wins. As we get a slip off there off red from Gerald Suttle's car, freshly out of the dead man's corner, just kind of a little bit too aggression of the turn, kind of a little bit of a pop-up direction in. Gabriel Kirtley there in blue lane, able to turn 1.64 currently as we move back to the normal screen here to be able to see some median times. Jay Latham 1.62 there on black. Glenn Burton 1.63. Like I said, neck to neck there with each other as Glenn is holding down the second position to begin this lane rotation. Tom Payton there in third, very close behind. Woosley, surprisingly, in fourth, maybe having a little bit more issues there on white than he would like to see, as he came off earlier in this heat. We see Jay Latham coming off there on black, heading up towards Dead Man's Corner. Heading back green, you know these guys are taking it serious. As I'm not hearing any chatter out there. It's nothing but concentration, as these cars are quite a handful on this medium-sized trioval, as Sam Nelson takes just a little bit of a love tap there, or as Paul Woosley takes a little bit of a love tap there by Sam Nelson off the crook of the track. This happens as these cars are aggressively coming out of Dead Man's Corner. The back end of these cars are unseating, wiggling back and forth, and nobody wants to live. So these things take place, and hopefully you can get it in there before anything substantially bad happens, but it's still left up to the driver whether or not they lift. As we head back to the track mate, we can see here where Glenn Burton and Jay Latham both just one lane rotation behind each other there with 70 laps. Jay Latham blistering with 70 laps there on purple. Glenn Burton only able to turn 26. That's a substantial difference there. What happened? 1 second. We got the runtime error. You want to take a picture of this? It's going to kick the program. That's the runtime error for the software. So we're going to take a picture here real quick, and we're probably, you said 1 minute? Redo the heat? Okay. Well, what we can do is redo the heat, and then I got it live streamed. It's up live right now. So I can go back after this is over and check the live stream to see how many laps before we redo the heat. Took a picture.
Go ahead and reboot.
She did. We're going to have a small intermission here, folks, as we get this back up and running. I'll be right back with you.
What? We'll reboot. Just open the page up. So is that the second heat?
It'd be the second.
Yeah. So,
That's your check.
When Bruce was doing the turn watch the other day, they was getting hot and turn this heat up. He said you can watch the track and on the end change. It's like dudes are
Really?
he said you can see it start sweating
As soon as we turn the heat on.
because it plays blown right on it.
So what? We need to turn the heat on.
When it sits there on it for a while and you turn it on, it'll change.
well, turn the heat on. It's getting cold.
Turn it on, right? 60.
What's the lowest that thing behind?
I didn't know what you think that was still.
No, I did or not. What? Oh, Tom.
So we'll just run 7 of 8, and you'll add the first heat back in.
Yeah. That's what we'll do. Or we'll collapse there. We'll just add those
Yeah,
together.
add on the tail end, it's good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're getting back underway. Everybody's going to line their cars up on the start-finish line. Everybody's going to get their stuff hooked up, and we'll be back running as we got the laps totaled here. Sam Nelson getting his car put back on green. Everybody ready? Here we go. As we have somewhat of a restart here, as that last one only let them run a minute for some reason. Quite strange. Had a runtime error as it kicked them out. So we're going to rerun that heat for these guys. Gerald Sutton's car there involved with Glenn Burden. Had to turn the heater back on long ago. You see me in my jacket now. Got a little chilly in here. The smoke's coming up in there too. Hey, I'll tell you what it is, that switch underneath there, where we letting them hit them buttons, I think that's shorting that thing out. All right, I'll restart it. Black lane? No. All I did was re-strip them. Well, this thing's all kind of jacked up. Well, I boarded it, but it may restart when I hit start. We are receiving quite a bit of technical difficulty. We get one thing working here, and it seems like another thing decides to crash. Let me hit start and see if it's going to do it. Restart it off. It does.
Here, let's just do a little, let's start it, let somebody go. Hey, Glenn, I'm gonna hit start, just run yours around it a couple times and see what it does.
Good.
Got
You're running out there.
Yeah, I don't put the laps.
I'm going to go out there and investigate. I'll be right back.
They're like sliced bread, really. Joy was gone on and living at the racetrack. Yeah, that's what it is.
You got 9 total laps between everybody, and it just gave everybody 9 laps.
But it didn't do the first heat. Yeah, first heat was fine. Is it because there's no way?
update. We're having to reboot the system yet again. We are having some really crazy things go on. It might end up entailing into another makeup race as this circle track seems, after I got the white fixed, to still be giving us issues.
So you have to get old one day and have to go work for a living, and you gotta work the rest of your life. And by the time you get to retire, you'll be 75. They'll let you be off for 2 years.
Oh, good.
Nine, 10 inches, something like that. I think it's 9. The one I'm doing is 11 something.
Yeah.
I got 8-inch drawers.
Yeah.
Get my dad out off the couch to help me.
Oh, yeah?
He's the woodworker, I'm not.
Well, it's not giving the laugh to everybody. Do mine up there, Drew, make a laugh.
Yellow flag.
Thank you, sir. Let's just start it and do it. Well, if you start it and do it again, you just take that one, you got a copy of the first one, don't you?
Yeah, this is actually the second.
Right, but what I'm saying, if you do start over, which is
The,
10 minutes,
the first heat, they'll add them to the,
Right.
to the total. We'll run 7
Yellow
heats.
flag.
7 heats, and then they'll take it first.
Right. Well, I like it, it helps me. I mean, well, I need a little break. I mean, come on now, I missed half a whole weekend one day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Hopefully we got this thing figured out. After a couple restarts, I'm gonna wait till Gabriel gets himself in position. I'm gonna hit start over here. All right, here we go. Countdown here. Hopefully all thing is good now. The 2 cars coming off there and a hard hit as we see the car of Sam Nelson. That looks like Harold Kirby's car that Randy's got. Looks like it's peeled back the nose. So far, so good though. Now I'll turn them back on. I'll turn the buttons back on for the drivers as we're lacking in corner marshals tonight. But anyways, after we found out that first heat it wasn't the buttons, it seems to be just a software reboot glitch that just happens from time to time. Maybe ooh, I felt that one hit the side of the wall here at the booth. It's like Michael Hazlip's coming to get that car. I felt the thud on that dude. That's probably the longest I've seen go. Back racing here. These guys are really zooming tonight. We got Glenn there with a 1.61 still there currently in the lead. Gabby Curley 1.65. Changing the pace, but before we left, Gabby Curley had 62 laps. Jay Latham had 70. Sam Nelson 47. Gerald Suttle 43. Glenn Burden 70. Paul Woosley 69, and Tom Payton 69. So just a reference for if you're keeping track of your racer. Like I said, we will get these numbers corrected, and we'll be right back by the end of the night with updated laps total. So please keep an eye out on our website, www.lanesraceway.com, and you can check out our series standings there in the top right of the screen on your phone. Or if you get online, you can see it too. As Sam Nelson comes off again, having issues with his car popping out here recently on the upper lanes here. 3 cars involved in that incident. Sam old school, he's screaming the track as this track here has buttons to kill it. Sort of a new thing here for slot car racing, as we give the option to the racer to be able to kill their own track. Usually that's not a thing, but just getting started out, we can't really run live tracks with the amount of track marshals we have, especially as fast as these cars are going. We don't want people destroying their cars out here. We want them getting multiple races out of those bodies and having a good time. So it's just an extra incentive to hit that. Hopefully somebody hits the button for Sam next time he yells out. It's, like I said, it's unconventional how we do things here at Lanes Raceway. But at the same time, I think it is, it keeps tempers a lot cooler for sure. Because there's nothing worse. I know whenever I used to go racing, there's nothing worse than coming off and then a track marshal just being airheaded and not ever getting your car put back in the lane. At least this way, if that takes place, fail-safe is just to hit the button and kill the track. And sometimes track marshals, especially if they're racing, you'll get a vindictive one here every once in a while. So we get another incident to take place there. It looks like we got a body completely knocked off. Michael Hazlip grabbing it there in the high banks. I don't know whose body that is. It looks like Sam Nelson's again. He's having some issues here with that car. But like I said, you know, it keeps tempers down, keeps them from flaring. As you know, sometimes guys will take extra long, especially if you're in the runnings with them. They'll do some shady stuff at tracks, like, well, I've got him within 3 laps. If I can just hold his car for a few extra seconds, you know, things like that. And, you know, everybody says, well, people don't really do that, but they do. People are vindictive, and they tend to do that with racing a lot of the times. As we see that car there. To be Glenn Burden's blue car, if I'm not mistaken. Took quite a bit of a wallop there, as we see Paul Woosley trying to fix it there. But yeah, that kind of just negates that, and they can hit their own button if they feel like somebody's taking too long, or if it comes out and they don't want, you know, 5 or 6 cars to slam them, they can hit that button too. As there was a little bit of a love tap that took place there by Jay Latham there on black. Gave a little bit of a love tap there to Glenn Burden, seeing him in dead man's corner. We'll see if that happens again. But nonetheless, each one of these guys out there vying to try to get as many laps turned as they possibly can. And likewise, I mean, I would be out there doing the same thing, trying my best to turn as many laps as I possibly could. But, you know, not everybody's honest, and it's just it's a better tool to keep people honest. As we see a car coming to a halt there on purple, that's Glenn Burden. That's definitely not a Glenn wants to see is he's been involved in a few incidents so far as this new restart of the second heat has taken place. You see round robin 1 of 8 up there in the top left of your screen. That is signifying that there will be 8 heats left to go, but they're technically on the second lane rotation. So there actually is only 7 left to go. We had some technical difficulties, which we're just now checking in. And with those technical difficulties, we had to try to figure out what was going on. Ended up having to reboot the computer twice. Sam Nelson having a good time and kind of picking a little bit on Tommy, so we ain't no friends here. And Tom giving it back in kind, of course. As these guys, like I said, you can tell these guys are just here for the hobby, having a good time. And at the same time, trying to be competitive and turn the best times they can, building their cars the best way they can. Very impressed with how Jay Latham's car has been handling on this circle track, as if he has built that car specifically for this circle track. Hanging in there very well, only coming out a few times, and running right there with Gabriel Kirkley currently there on blue in the middle lane. But if you look, his median time, Jay Latham's 1.57. So far, not a whole lot of data in, but 1.57 to me seems quite fast, as the breakout for these cars is set to 1.1. We see Randy Kirkley there, also known as Quick Hands here at Lanes Raceway, getting about 5 or 6 cars there, all put on simultaneously as if he had octopus hands. As we head to the track mate, we see Jay Latham there with 74 laps turned, Gabriel Kirkley with 74 laps turned. Look at their tee times, almost identical, a tenth of a second difference between the two. That's pretty amazing, as if they were running simultaneously together. Something to see, actually. As we see somewhat of a battle between Gerald and Sam, they rode here together. Maybe they, on the way here, coerced one another with race strategy and picked each other's ear, because these guys are running within 1 lap of each other. Also, their tee time quite substantially close to one another also, as we see the bottom 4 all running at 149 tee time. I'll take anything 151.495 tee time and an average lap of 67. As we go back over real quick, take a look at these points. We see Tom Payton and Jay Latham right there in each other's range to be able to make a little bit of a move. But it looks like Jay Latham tonight is going to be taking Ed Housebot for sure, as they were only within 30 laps of each other. So I would say Jay Latham is now officially in 6th place currently. Tom Payton is going to, of course, also most likely take over Ed Howe in that position as well tonight. So it's good to see these guys coming out and putting forth the effort that they do. As we have a minute left in this heat, or a minute left in this relaxed mode for these guys to be in the pits. We can take a quick look here at the oval cam and see these guys working in the pits. So the wife up here in the top left. Randy Kirkley there at the end of Dead Man's Corner, taking a good old snoozle. I mean, not a snooze, I'm sorry. Well, he looks so relaxed. He looks like he's taking a good nap. I kind of cracked my wife up as she come in here. He's relaxing. After that last heat there, I don't know if you guys seen it. Maybe you need to take a rewind real quick. But oh, octopus hands Randy Kirkley getting about 7 or 8 cars on there almost simultaneously. Something to see. I mean, when you got a track marshal that good, who needs track calls? But really, these guys are getting back in there as we got 21 seconds left to go before we go green. What a help Michael Hazel's been here tonight for Lanes Raceway, helping us track marshal. Michael Hazel used to race with us down there in the old orange track back in the day when it was in the basement. But we got 5 seconds left to go. Let's head back out there to the oval race and take a good look at everything. Currently back up in the hot spot at Dead Man's Corner. As we go racing, these guys are ripping it. We keep an eye there on Jay Latham there on yellow, really cranking it in as he's reeling in Sam Nelson on blue, and he's able to make the pass without any kind of controversy. We see Paul Woosley hit the track button there. It looks like another gentleman has hit the track button also. Michael Hazlip helping us there at the high banks of the corners. There's a quick pop out there on green. It looks to be Gerald Suttle as he really tried with all effort, intent to hit that button, but it was just a hair off. But he gave every effort he possibly could to get that track shut off, and we commend him for that. As he gets a car put back on green, Gerald Suttle. Looks like we got a car there at the bottom of the track on black, not necessarily seated, but it possibly could be. And it was, as we see Gerald popping out again, possibly a braid issue. Maybe the front nose is bent. Something's going on with that car. Gerald's going to take a quick look. Who really knows? Maybe too much weight in the rear. I don't know. Really light in the front can sometimes cause them to pop out. Really good grip in the rear tires. If you're using too heavy of the blue, can cause them to pop out. But who really knows what's going on with that car right now? I don't have a handle on it. As Gabriel Kirtley popped out and joined the red lane of Paul Woosley and gave Paul Woosley a little bit of a breakout noise. That was that big pop noise you heard. Also, the black thing around his lap time means that he broke out. It means he turned a lap time faster than 1.1 second, which with these cars is, if you can do that, you're substantially faster than anybody, and you're probably running a different motor. So we see Jay Latham reeling in Gabriel Kirtley down there on purple. Jay Latham, like I'm telling you guys, this guy's car is hooking up like a monster tonight. He's got that car rolling now. As he passes Gabriel Kirtley, probably another one of the front runners here. Jay Latham making pretty good ground there as he's staying consistent there. Randy Kirtley getting the Sam Nelson car of 51 back on track, going across the start-finish line there. New nickname, Randy Kirtley, Octopus Hands, as he is super quick at putting these cars back on. And Sam Nelson off again as there's a collision that takes place between him and Glenn Burden at the start-finish line. Jay Latham still inches in front of Gabriel Kirtley as they are racing neck to neck with each other on the track. Jay Latham with a median of 1.53, Gabriel Kirtley with a median of 1.54. These guys are literally not moving an inch on each other as they're giving it everything they got and really rolling in and sending it. Randy Kirtley getting the car put back there. Sam Nelson back on the blue as he didn't get counted for that lap. As we start again, keep your eyes on yellow and see what Jay's going to do with this car of Sam Nelson on blue as he passes him really quick. No let up, no bars held. Gabriel Kirtley close on the tails. We see Black joining in the mix of Glenn Burden in between the two. Randy Kirtley quickly with the Octopus Hands getting one back on as Jay Latham gives a dump to Sam Nelson coming around Dead Man's corner. Jay Latham immediately the next lap coming off. It may have scared him a little. Rich Ruger, hello. How you doing, Rich? As we go back green again, keep your eyes on the yellow car, yellow lane. That one right behind him is Gabriel Kirtley as these two are racing for the win here. Gabriel Kirtley comes off and we hear a screech of a gear. Now, whose car is it with the gear problem? Most likely Sam's, as he's been involved in quite a few wrecks this heat. We continue to go racing as it looks that Jay's came off and put behind Gabriel Kirtley. Let's see if Jay can reel him back in on yellow. As Jay's making a move, he really wants to make that move on purple on Gabriel Kirtley, but he just can't get the inch that he needs to get, and he gets the coast, ladies and gentlemen, in front of Gabriel Kirtley. Not what Gabriel Kirtley wants to see is his car is just a hair slower than Jay Latham's. Jay Latham really giving the beans and all that it's for there on yellow. Let's see who gets the lead jump off here. Jay Latham and Gabriel Kirtley simultaneously both together about equal. As Jay Latham takes a little bit of a hit there from Gabriel Kirtley, a little bit of a love nudge. I think these two are common rivals. They went to school together. Gabriel Kirtley giving the old hand movement of I have to let you go there, Jay. As Gabriel Kirtley is inching up on Jay Latham again, maybe Jay got a little bit of nerves going. As Gabriel comes off on his own there, and Jay Latham's able to make that lap back up. So the battle is ensuing here with just a couple of laps between these two racers. It's really interesting to see down low on these lanes like this as we see Jay Latham has his car in tune on that yellow lane, running neck to neck with Glenn Burden on black. Glenn kind of letting off there is it's just a little too much maybe for Black Lane to keep up that kind of heat. So we see almost a half a track difference between him and Gabriel Kirtley. We get a wreck on the high banks of the track involving 3 cars. One Paul Woosley, Paul Woosley there on red lane, Gerald Suttle, and Tom Payton. White. As we go back green, Gabriel Kirtley about a half track different between the current leader Jay Latham here with 70 laps, really ripping and roaring there as Jay Latham's starting to reel in Gabriel Kirtley, and with a beautiful coast like that, able to actually pull Gabriel within shooting distance. As we get a car to come off there, it seems to be Tom Payton's car yet again after a couple of laps. Michael Hazel's there getting him back on in the high banks of the corner. As we go back green, maybe a little bit of a stutter there from Jay as it goes back to a half lap now. Gabriel Kirtley reeling in Jay Latham on the low lanes, but Jay Latham in that beautiful coast on yellow. It's hard to beat. That's going to be a really tough lane for Gabriel Kirtley to be able to reel in as we go to the track mate and look at that beautiful 78 laps turned by Jay Latham. What a turn of events as we see 76 beautiful laps turned by Gabriel Kirtley. But I'll tell you what, that 78 laps turned on yellow by Jay Latham, I don't think you can do much better than that, folks, with these cars. Total laps has now increased to 152. Gabriel Kirtley at 150, 2 laps down. The battle ensues between Glenn Burton and Tom Payton as Tom Payton's trying to reel in Glenn. Not doing so well that last heat, but possibly towards the end of these heats, he might be able to make an advantage push and maybe take Glenn. But as Glenn is moving up the lanes, going to end up running his last 2 heats on the longest lanes. You might start seeing Glenn move up a little bit as others move down, but just keep your eyes out for these guys as we have just a minute or so left to go. Take a quick look at these points again. Like I said, Glenn always in the mix there. You see him in second place. Paul Woosley also. But tonight's front runners, Jay Latham, Gabriel Kirtley, really just out for the blood. As we kind of do a little bit of comparison between these two, we see Gabriel Kirtley there currently in 9th position with 3,252 laps total turned, and very close Jay Latham with 3,540 total laps turned. Jay Latham currently in the lead above Gabriel Kirtley, and will substantially stay that way if these turn events don't change. But like I said, between these two tonight, they are battling neck and neck on this circle track. Circle track not been so kind to Gabriel Kirtley, as it seems to be his nemesis. Every time that he gets out on the circle track, he tends to have something go wrong with his car. We'll see if that happens tonight. But similarly, Jay Latham has some rough times with the circle track also, getting beat and banged and tore up in some of the trash lanes. I've seen him had to change an axle, change a gear before, a couple tires. So these guys are kind of on equal playing field currently, and they really, really want to change their luck. As we have 30 seconds left to go, we're going to move back over to the oval cam just to watch people get ready. Tonight's sponsor for this race weekend, Bryant Engineering Incorporated, 1535 Frederick Street, Owensboro, Kentucky, 42301. Give them a call, 270-685-2811 for all your civil engineering and land surveying consulting needs. This firm has extensive details on civil and surveying projects, over 6,000 in their scope of projects range from the Parkview Drive Area Basin in 2015 to 2014 downtown infrastructure improvement. These are projects of the year that these guys have turned. So if you need somebody with experience, give these guys a call, especially if you're going to try to start something new. These guys can surely point you in the right direction or even help you through it. As we go back racing, let's head back over to the road race so we can see a look at these laps. Jay Latham, 169 laps total turned. Gabriel coming, sorry about that. We're in the wrong one, ladies and gentlemen. Gabriel Kirtley coming out of nowhere, deciding that he wasn't going to have any more. Jay Latham now currently turning a little bit faster lap times. As he's lower on the lanes. But you see Jay Latham and him neck and neck. Jay Latham on orange, Gabriel Kirtley on black. Gabriel able to inch out just a little bit as we hear a screech of a gear from somebody, but he's able to inch out a little bit because he has track advantage on black. So as long as Jay Latham just doesn't give up too many laps here, doesn't wreck, it's Gabriel Kirtley that has to make those moves and get that advantage. As we hear the squeaks of somebody's gear not doing too well, a little too loose. We see Jay Latham come off in a furious manner there, hitting the outside of Dead Man's Corner as Octopus Arms Randy Kirtley gets 3 cars put back on in a quick fashion. As we go back green, Jay Latham coming into a bunch as he gives a little bit of a love tap, causing Tom Payton to break out. But he's trying his best to stay up there with Gabriel Kirtley. It's nose bars held as he passes Gerald Suttle on the inside. It's Gerald Suttle's car that's losing the gear. Gerald Suttle's going to try to reach in if he can and snag this car without causing any trouble, as he's going to work on his car to get that gear back up and going. Back to Jay Latham there on the orange lane. You see that black lane? Those are your leaders there. Jay Latham with a beautiful coast coming off of orange into Dead Man's Corner. Gabriel Kirtley close behind, ensuing taking the lead from Jay Latham in the black lane with a 1.5 median. But a 1.56 median and Jay Latham there close behind. This is your battle, folks, for this race. As we see Tom Payton and Paul Woosley, family members, also in the battle down low. Take a quick look there. Tom Payton, red lane, immediately coming off as we took a look. Maybe we shouldn't have took a look. Maybe we made a little bit of bad luck there. Who knows? But when you get them back on and maybe focus on them for a couple laps. But like I said, the real heated battle on black lane there, as you see Glenn grabbing a car right in front of Gabriel's car there on the backstretch. But these guys giving it everything they got. Jay Latham coming with a sense of moxie this weekend. Also Gabriel Kirtley, as if they got something to prove, like this is the final race of the Formula One series. These guys both just giving it everything they got, and it's something to behold as these guys are turning pretty impressive lap times and total laps at the end of their heats. So as we go back green, we see that Tom Payton with 1.81 and 0.69. So Paul Woosley is able to turn substantially amount faster on that green lane than the red lane of Tom Payton, and it's about to be a lap change here between the two as we see him reel him in, and we get a red flag for a lane rotation. So there's the difference between the two, is Paul Woosley ended up coming off and Tom was able to hold it together. As we move to the track mate here real quick, taking a quick look, like I said, Gabriel Kirtley he had enough on that black lane. Seeing turns impressive 81 laps on black, pretty much sending out the call to arms to Jay Latham, letting him know that, hey, this is my track, baby. Watch where I'm coming from, because 81 to Jay 74, Jay Latham right there in the mix. But Jay Latham definitely going to have to pick up the pace a little bit if he wants to hang with Gabriel Kirtley. But the real question is turning those hard, heavy-hitting heats and 81 laps on one lane rotation. Can Gabriel Kirtley's motor handle that kind of abuse? Because I'll tell you right now, the other day we had that trouble on white lane, and Tom Payton, what a trooper he is and a friend of mine, he came out and he helped me with the track to make sure that it was back in working order. So I had him run 30 laps in every lane without a respectable break in between those rotations, and he just 30 laps on red, 30 laps on white, 30 laps on green, and he burned his motor down after about the 5th heat. So the way that Gabriel Kirtley's running right now with 81 total laps is a burn down in his future. He might need to let her off a little bit. He might need to take his time and maybe just run some average laps and keep this race more interesting. Who knows? But if I know racing, people always go as hard as they can, and I'm sure Gabriel Kirtley's going to either checkers or wreckers, as I've grew up with him my whole life, and that's his mentality. So I'm sure he's ready, probably got him a motor even on standby, who knows? But smoking a motor might be in his future. So we see Gabriel Kirtley eager, biting at the bit to get on that yellow lane. Speaking of Gabriel Kirtley and his real life out motorsport racing ventures, the K7 mobile he used to drive back in the day, the first time he drove it was a yellow mobile. So he does love the yellow and he does love the black. So just like slot car racing, we'll see how he does here on yellow as comparison to what Jay Latham was able to turn on yellow. One thing I know about my brother Gabriel, he does not like to be beat. So we'll see if he can keep that kind of ferocity up and be able to turn more laps than Jay Latham. But man, what a shine that Jay is putting on that car tonight, as it is really sticking in there at that second place currently. As you can see, we're down a couple guys right now. Both the two guys that came here together, Gerald Sutter and Sam Nelson, currently working on their cars, trying to get them back in the race. But right off the bat here, let's try to focus back into our race leaders here. Gabriel Kirtley on yellow, Jay Latham on white. As Jay Latham's going to sacrifice quite a few laps here, almost needs to just focus in on his own white lane and turn as many laps as he can, respectively, on white. Not so much focusing on Gabriel's speed and aggression there on yellow, as Gabriel tries to make a move against Paul Woosley, as I don't see that there was any kind of contact between the two. It just kind of seems like maybe Paul just kind of ran a little deep on that one. But nonetheless, Gabriel Kirtley there on the inside yet again, Paul Woosley a lap later. So we'll see what happens here on the takeoff. It's most likely he will be aggressive on the takeoff to get out in front. But Paul Woosley right there with him. Paul Woosley. All right, I just lost track of the cars. Even myself loses track of the cars here from time to time, as we got another car off at the start-finish line. Moving to the oval race, you guys can kind of see yet again some of the laps turned and the best laps. Gabriel Kirtley currently holding down those best laps. We see Tony Michael Gaddis. Layla Gaddis said, "Tell Chelsea hi." I sure will. Next time I see her, I don't think she's behind me. Next time she comes in here, I'll sure tell her I said hi. As Michael Hazlett gets that car put back on for Jay on white. Jay somewhat struggling there on white, as some people do. So a lot of times tends to be dirty tires, a little bit too aggressive leading out of dead man's corner, and a little slippity slide back and forth, and it just unsettles the car in front enough to pull it out. Probably most likely easily solved by putting just a hair bit of weight in the front nose to keep that pop out from taking place. Or even maybe putting a little weight in front of the motor just to get it to set down just a little bit. But nonetheless, loose is fast, and if you're adding weight, you're going slow. So try not to add weight if you don't have to, and keep her loose and keep her fast. Just keep them tires clean. I know Jay does, but he might be looking towards the end portion of life on those tires as they're slipping side to side. And Jay Latham caught up into the bottom there in the trash lane. That's the biggest hard hit probably yet of this race. Well, at the very beginning, that one that hit the side of the wall was probably the biggest hard hit. But as for a cluster hit into a trash lane, not what Jay wanted to see, is Jay literally just came off there and got right back into the lane. That was something to see. Came off right after the start-finish line, hit the wall right about where Michael's standing, and then went right back into the lane. So Jay Latham trying to just stay in front of Gabriel Kirtley the best he can, as Gabriel Kirtley makes the pass on the inside. Jay Latham on yellow. So we get another car off down to the black portion of the lane. Michael reaching down, handing that car over to Randy Kirtley as we get another track call. Randy Kirtley, also known as Octopus Arms for Bryant, getting Paul Woosley on that blue lane. Paul Woosley, definite front runner every time that he is in the race. Now you'll start seeing Paul Woosley heading to get some more of those times as he's approaching there Glenn Burton. Both of these racers right there neck to neck with each other for the most part every race that I see. So we can kind of see now 8 laps difference between Gabriel Kirtley and Jay Latham, because Jay Latham's so high up on the board right now, and probably a difference between 4.5, 5 foot on this trial, as Jay had to try his best to get through that. And we got 1 second left before we have a lane rotation. The higher you go, the more you have to, either hammer down and try your best to keep it from happening, or what I just do is just try to run consistently good laps without coming off and try to dodge as many wrecks as possible. That's where the luck comes in slot car racing, is if you're in the trash lanes, it could be detrimental to your health sometimes. As we see Jay Latham, the first out of him and Gabriel to be able to turn on white lane. We see Jay turning 66, which is the best that I've seen tonight. Even better than Paul Woosley, which Paul Woosley usually quite strong on the circuit track, of 62 laps. Paul Woosley car turning an average of 62.8 currently, but nowhere in comparison between Jay Latham and Gabriel Kirtley in the upper 70s. So Jay Latham currently turning an average of 73.2. Probably took quite a substantial hit there after running the white lane. As the lanes progress, he'll be able to finish on purple lane, and there towards the end be able to make up some of those laps on Gabriel Kirtley. Unless Gabriel Kirtley comes back and just completely obliterates his white and red lanes, Jay Latham does have a chance to take home this victory tonight. 1 minute and 44 seconds to go. I'm going to skip on over to the point standing of this and remind you that this race weekend is sponsored by Bryant Engineering Incorporated, 1535 Frederick Street in Owensboro, Kentucky. They also have an office in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So give these guys a call for all your engineering, civil engineering, land surveying, or any kind of consulting needs for 270-685-2811. So I'll be back in just about a minute or so, and we'll go green again. We'll take a small intermission break here as you guys can look over the points for yourself.
The race starts in 1 minute.
There's no airflow on the bottom. You can- Overview.
Race starts in 40 seconds. Race starts in 20 seconds. Race starts in 5 seconds.
As we're back, had to get up and kind of let a little bit of circulation happen. I'm sitting on this hard stool so high up in the air. Got to take a little bit of break like anybody else. As we head back green racing, Gabriel Kirtley almost immediately coming off as I hear a squeal of a gear taking place. Jay Latham there on red. Going to have another suffering moment here for Jay Latham as he's got to run his red lane. Gabriel Kirtley fixing to go into the suffering after this lane rotation. Hey Chelsea, Layla says hi. Chelsea says, let me see if I can reiterate this. Layla, I love you so much, beautiful princess, and I miss you.
And I need a picture of your hair. You got a haircut.
And she wants a picture of your beautiful hair where you got a haircut. As Randy Kirtley gets a car back on black lane, I'm still hearing the squealing of a gear. It looks like Paul Woosley handing over to Gerald Suttle. Gerald taking a look at his car and says, I'm looking at his control. We got to go look at his car again. So we'll back green racing. Gabriel Kirtley pulling in, reeling in Jay Latham. But Jay Latham fending off that lead on red lane, really hauling the mill on red lane, keeping Gabriel Kirtley at bay. is Gabriel Kirtley there on the center lane of orange in the yellow and blue car. Jay Latham in the orange car on red, just really giving it everything he's got. Jay Latham actually increasing his lead against Gabriel Kirtley on red. This is substantial. This is something to see here. As we see Jay Latham turning 1.65 medium on red lane, the longest lane of the trial against Gabriel's 1.65. Gabriel just can't seem to keep up with it. As we go back green, we see Jay Latham caught up in the trash lane as he gets a little bit of a bump from Glenn Burton. Michael Hayslip giving Jay the advantage where he was knocked out of Dead Man's Corner, kind of slid all the way down the track. Jay will get his lap here as he crosses over. All right, back together. Jay Latham and Gabriel Kirtley. Gabriel Kirtley on orange lane, the yellow and blue car. Trying to reel in Jay Latham, but just can't seem to do it. It's like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you run those cars real hot, they get hot. They get hot, they run slow. So Jay Latham came out and came right back in his lane. So we'll see. As I seen during the pits, I don't know if you guys had seen it. I can't remember if I put the view on the pits where you could see or not, but Jay Latham was squirting his motor down, cooling it off with some air in a can. We'll see as Jay Latham completely demolishes a car in his lane, almost just tractor plows it. The 51 of Sam Nelson setting in the red lane up on the high banks, which is abnormal for the high banks. High banks usually everybody drops to the black and purple lane, but Jay Latham was able to collect there. Maybe he won't slow his car down, who knows, as Jay Latham fends off his lead there on red against Gabriel Kirtley. Gabriel Kirtley making a quick dash in front of Jay Latham as Jay Latham's trying to reel him back in on red. It looks like that maybe a little bit of damage had taken place on Jay's to kind of somewhat slow his car down after that big, large hit. His lap incursions from Gabriel Kirtley on the lower lane of orange. But it looks like Jay back in good form. Looks like he's possibly reeling in Jay Latham as he gets caught up. Gabriel Kirtley comes off. Jay Latham collects there in the trash lane at the end of Dead Man's Corner. Randy Kirtley getting Jay Latham back in, as it looks like he maybe possibly have to do a little bit of bend work there on the front nose. As we head back green, can Jay reel Gabriel in after such a hard hit? And it looks like he is, as Gabriel Kirtley is giving it up and letting Jay in the front. Gabriel Kirtley just trying his best to stay in. Jay Latham was able to run a little too harshly there as he got a little bit of a love nudge there from competitor Glenn Burden in third. As Glenn is trying to make the lead back up, as we get a rider there on white, you hear Sam Nelson scream. Somewhat scared me out of my pants there a little bit, as that was quite loud. But nonetheless, enough heard that we were able to get that track stopped in a timely manner. So, yellow lane, Sam Nelson back on the track as we got a double breakout on Glenn. Here we go again. Jay Latham there on red, trying to reel in Gabriel Kirtley on orange. Somewhat about a quarter to a half a lap as Gabriel kind of lets off there a little bit. And Jay is able to get him within about an eighth of the track after that beautiful coast around Dead Man's Corner. Randy Kirtley getting the car back on. This may be Jay Latham's time to shine, as currently Jay Latham's turned 61 laps to Gabriel's 59 on orange. So we see the hard work between these two. We have 10 seconds left to go. Still yet about an eighth of a track difference between Jay Latham and Gabriel Kirtley on orange. You can see them there in the high banks together. And Jay gets the car Tom Payton put back on blue. It just goes to show these two guys working hard on their cars. Jay Latham making a pass on red to the underlay of Gabriel Kirtley on orange. This is surprising. There could be issues, as we see there underneath white lane made a quick succession pass of Glenn Burden. So we'll take a quick look here at the track mate. Gabriel Kirtley yet to run his white and red lanes. Jay Latham running an impressive 72 laps, 10 laps above Tom Payton, who was our current leader on red lane. So Jay Latham, what a car he's got tonight. as he has worked diligently and hard on that car to keep it as high as he is. Actually increasing his average lap time this time from the 72s now into the 73s. It's impressive to increase an average lap time on white and red. And to see this, what does Gabriel have to offer as Gabriel is now going to move into white lane? Will Gabriel be able to capitalize and move as hard as Jay Latham did when he was on white lane is yet to be seen. But we can see that Jay Latham and Gabriel Kirtley both have ran orange lane, and Jay Latham has ran 5 laps more than Gabriel Kirtley on orange. Very impressive as we take a look down lanes here. Gabriel currently only being able to beat Jay on the lower lanes, which Jay is yet to be able to run that purple lane, which will be his last segment. Which actually, we possibly, he ran that purple lane the very first heat. I'm sorry, because our first heat was done, and then we had to rerun the second heat. So Jay Latham has already ran this purple lane. Just haven't got it into the system yet. So you maybe can possibly go on the live stream and go back and see what he ran and see if it's comparable with Gabriel Kirtley. But nonetheless, these guys are battling for this first place position, as both of them has had pretty bad luck when it comes to the circle track this season. But now things are changing. It looks like their luck is looking up. 1 minute left to go. We're going to head on over to the oval cam. You guys can watch on Mark. You see Jay Latham over there working on his. And I'm going to take a quick 50-second break or so.
Race starts in 40 seconds. Race starts in 20
I
seconds.
mean, I missed 1 or 2. How many more, Glenn? 1 more after this. 1 more after this. Okay, I'm on this one.
Race starts in 5 seconds. Get ready.
All right. As we head back green racing here, we see Glenn Burden grabbing his car there on red lane. Glenn Burden was currently in 3rd place, but he gave up 3rd place to Paul Woosley. As we get a big wreck, you see the car there, Michael Hazel heading to it. My wife beat him to the punch. She got a car there. Whose car is it? It would be none other than Jay Latham's car. That's something that Jay wants to see as he's racing for the lead here. We're meeting 1.62 currently. Gabriel Kirtley trying to give everything that he can on the white lane. As Gabriel Kirtley makes a quick pass of Glenn Burden, but Jay Latham on the inside of Gabriel Kirtley making a dash to the victory there as he made a quick pass on Gabriel Kirtley. Possibly some of that bad luck still wearing off on Gabriel Kirtley, waning as Gabriel Kirtley's car comes off there. But Jay's car, you couldn't ask for a better car currently, as that thing is turning 1.6 medium, tied with Paul Woosley's. Paul Woosley's deciding he wants to get in the mix. So we go back green racing. We get the track call. It's Sam Nelson's car coming up there on orange. Gabriel Kirtley trying to make a stab at Jay Latham as we get Jay Latham's car come off hard there on the high base. Someone's going to settle it there. But that thing is flying, ladies and gentlemen. Oh no. Oh no. This is definitely not what Jay's wanting to see. He has 30 seconds to see if it's a loose wire, pinion gear, something maybe loose, a tire loose or something. But we're definitely here waiting on pinted breath here. As Jay Latham definitely has a chance here to take home the victory. All right, he got his car back up and running, ladies and gentlemen. Somewhat of a Cinderella story here, as Jay Latham has tried and tried week in and week out, if you guys have been watching, to get this car to run as beautifully as it is. As he gives a love glaze there to Sam Nelson there on the orange of the track. As Sam Nelson gets put back on, and we see Sam Nelson's car come right back off the next lap as he's unsettled there with that car. Possibly a bend on one of the side pans, dragging too much, you know. Jay Latham there in the high banks of Green Lane, turning 38 laps respectively, 1.61 median lap time. As Gabriel Curley also turning 38 so far, 51 seconds left to go. Jay Latham took a little bit of a love touch there from the inside lane of Sam Nelson. They gave Gabriel about half of the track coast there to him, but it doesn't matter much as Jay Latham's reeling Gabriel Kirtley in again on white lane as he comes back around, as he's got somewhat of a substantial amount of time here as he passes Gabriel Kirtley, just inches on the inside as he goes in between him and Sam Nelson, really ripping through there as hard as he can. Gabriel Kirtley, Sam Nelson's car is stripped to gear as he's trying to get down there and get it before he gets his hands ripped off by these fast speed moving cars. Jay Latham about to get another lap on Gabriel Kirtley on the inside, running this green lane as he gave Gabriel a little bit of a bullhorn touch and then come around another lap and touched him again, has to somewhat show him who's boss of this track. As Jay Latham has not yet given up as he's coming back. He's going on the inside lanes. Gabriel Kirtley's going on the high lanes. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Jay is running the race of his life tonight. This thing is a smooth warrior. This thing is hauling a nail. Jay Latham, just like a battering ram, just getting anybody that's in his way. He says, I'm not stopping until I get a victory tonight. I'm coming home with a victory. It's going to be quite impressive as tonight he has not been involved in so many wrecks that this might be something to see, to compare on our points menu. Currently, does he have a chance to beat the all-time record high of total laps turned in one night on the circle track? We will do some comparison after the race is over to see, but I'm telling you, Jay has built him a machine, and this thing is moving like a freight train. So far, I've seen him hit 3 cars tonight and scooped them all off the track. And if you're a racer, that's kind of what you want. You don't want to ever be stopped or knocked out of the lane. You want to just be able to hit and keep on moving. So take a quick look here at the track mate. Jay Latham there on green, turning 69 laps. Pretty good lap turns there. I mean, of course, the best out of all. Of course, he is 4 laps ahead of Paul Woosley, which Paul Woosley, of course, everybody knows is a front runner. Him and Glenn Burton both. Glenn Burton yet to have run the green lane tonight. But Glenn and Paul and the rest of the guys somewhat seems to be in a different race category tonight, as this race battle has been between Gabriel Kirtley and Jay Latham as if they were blood brothers in a times past, and now completely against each other, raging for the fury of first place. 70s, they're in the 70 average lap times, ladies and gentlemen, but it looks as Jay took a little bit of hit on his average laps from 73 to 72. But like I said, keep an eye on this, because you're going to start seeing that increase now as Jay's going to the bottom portions of the lanes where the lanes are a lot shorter. This here is our last heat. If Jay's going to do it, he needs to do it now. Does he have what it takes? He sure has the lane advantage against Gabriel Kirtley, but he's going to really need a lot of wrecks out there. The same principle goes when he was on red. He took quite a few hits. he's going to need Gabriel to also take quite a few hits. Gabriel in a very, very good position to keep a hold of that lead as everybody's now warmed up, so there probably won't be as many wrecks as what took place for Jay. But who knows? I mean, like I said, this is the luck part when it comes to stock car racing, and it's anyone's game between this first and second racer, Jay Latham and Gabriel Kirtley. But what a race it's been. And very exciting from the seat standpoint of where I'm sitting. You see Jay Latham getting his car put back out there on the track. Gabriel Kirtley over there getting his car put back out. This is the adrenaline these guys are living for. These guys are getting their cars out first because they are ready to run this last heat. I mean, I can almost see the perspiration on each one of his forehead. These guys are meaning business, and they both want that win, and they are running for it. You see Glenn Burden in between them. Glenn Burden, the front runner also. Glenn Burden second in the points tonight. 6 seconds before we start, Glenn Burden ahead of Paul Woosley by a little over 100 laps there. We head back to the old race, and we're going green as soon as the lights drop out. Gabriel Kirtley taking the lead, but Jay Latham right there behind him. Jay Latham's fixing to take him for the pass. Jay Latham needs to make as many laps as he can while staying on. As you can see, there's only 4 racers on this track. We need to let this thing home the mail. The circle track always detrimental to almost everybody when it comes to racing this. So we got 3 racers down right now. Paul Woosley, Gerald Settle, Sam Nelson. This track is brutal for these fast cars. We see Jay Latham with such a beautiful opportunity there on blue. Just give it everything that he's got, trying to stay out of the messes. Gabriel Kirtley also with a beautiful opportunity, as not many cars are going to be shot up into the trash lanes. So all Gabriel Kirtley's got to do really to substantiate this lead is just to stay out of a wreck. If he can do that, he will hold this win. If he doesn't, Jay Latham's going to make laps. He's going to do these laps. He's going to do everything he can to make those laps, as that's a 3rd lap he's made on Gabriel Kirtley. He's got to make more than that, ladies and gentlemen. He needs to make about 7 more laps. If he can do that, and there's another lap. If he can do that within 1 minute left to go, it's going to come down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to come down to the wire. This is the kind of racing that we're talking about here at Lanes Raceway that we love as racers. We love to see this hard hitting, going as hard as you can kind of racing. Never giving up and giving it all that you can. All Jay needs is a good 2 wrecks for Gabriel Kirtley to be able to pull off this 4 to 5 lap that he needs. Gabriel Kirtley coming off the lane, not what Gabriel wants to see. 4 to 5 laps difference here. Jay's just going to have to keep the beans going. As Jay goes to make another pass, bringing it in within 3 laps, I believe. Jay going again. It's coming down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen. 4 laps, as we get a breakout on Gabriel Kirtley. I'm not for sure if Jay got that lap or not. He's now 5 laps down for starting. He takes another lap from Gabriel. 22 seconds left to go. He needs more wrecks to happen for Gabriel. That's just what he needs. He's got to have these wrecks. He's got to have somebody come off and fill trash in that lane. He might not get it. He takes another lap from Gabriel. It's down to the wire. 10 seconds left to go as Jay comes on. What a race. What a race. Three seconds left to go, and I think you're going to see the winner tonight. It's Gabriel Kirtley. Very hard fought as he fended Jay off there in the final heat. See you, Sam. Y'all be careful. Be right back with you guys as I'm going to go out there and do a quick interview with Jay and see if I can get this thing to work here real quick. As we total up these laps here, Jay Latham, I got to know, are you on pins and needles to see whether or not you're going to make up those maybe 2 or 3 laps?
It's gonna be close. I think I got him though.
Jay is confident that he's got you, Gabriel Curley. I got to know, man, are you on pins and needles?
Oh, I don't know. I got to see what the math adds up to be.
So Gabriel Curley currently looking with Jay close by. Yeah, it was very close, 3 to 4 laps. Jay got him. How much did Jay get you by?
Ain't gonna be by much.
55 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching it right now. 55 seconds. That's what we're waiting on to see what the difference is between Jay Latham and Gabriel Curley. Alicia, stand by. I know you said, wow, what a great race, and Jay almost got him, but Jay actually might have had him as we had difficulties at the beginning of the race. They're calculating it up. Him and Gabriel Curley currently right now are both adding it up to see. What did you have? So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Gabriel had 576 laps. Jay beat him and edged him out with 580. What a race. The rest of the lap times will be calculated and tallied up. Well, Alicia, the anticipation is over. Jay Latham has took home a victory, well deserved, as I know Jay has been here literally 2 times this week. It's abnormal for Jay to show up twice this week to get parts, but he showed up twice. He got him a couple of things of parts to work on his car. He's been really balancing those wheels and tires and those gears and really putting forth the best effort he can. I think they've been using the blueprint of Cleve Tech. And like I said, Jay come out with that victory. Jay, I got to know, man, how do you feel?
Feel pretty good.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell your fans out there, Jay? Because you got a bunch of them.
Keep watching.
There you go. You heard it from Jay. He loves when you guys watch him. Tony Michelle Gaddis says, congratulations, Jay. And Alicia Gaddis says, wow, congratulations, Jay. And great race, y'all. Thank you guys for watching. Go to our website at www.lanesraceway.com. And we'll see you here next time that we have a purse race. We might actually start doing some other stuff here at Lanes Raceway too, different races, who knows. But stay tuned, share, like, and subscribe. And we appreciate y'all being here. See you next time.